Hey Sunrise, it's Andrew here with your small group questions for this week, continuing on the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 5, verses 21 through 26. So last week we have Jesus making the proclamation that he's come to fulfill the law and the prophets, but he ended with this declaration that our righteousness must exceed that of the Pharisees. And so that sets up everything as we are going to begin to work through this week and in the weeks to come on what does that righteousness that exceeds the Pharisees look like. So again, as we begin to unpack some of this text, I want us to dive into the roots of what Jesus is trying to get us to think about here as he goes beyond the pure moral externals to the heart of the matter, where we live out the faith from a pure motive that's driven by the gospel that has saved us. And so that's the very first thing. So we begin this righteousness. The first question I have is, why do you think Jesus begins with murder? So he has the phrase, you've heard of old, thou shalt not murder. So again, quoting the old, but bringing in a judicial area to it. But in it, why does he begin with murder? Is this where you would expect him to begin? And so as you think about that opening illustration, that opening call, we then see he pushes deeper into the issue, the motive behind the action. And so he dives it in a way that very much lays everyone bare, as he says, if you are angry with your brother. How do we then begin to see these aspects of anger and insults and the words that we use connected to murder? How is Jesus putting all these things together? And as you think about it, how much is this a reality of our own lives? So you may say you don't murder, but how much do these three other aspects carry a lot more weight in our day-to-day aspects of living? Especially if you're driving on 19. You may feel this a little bit more potent. How does that work itself out? And so you begin to think through it, and then he brings it even into worship. So even if you go into worship and you know that there's an issue, you must reconcile first. How does reconciliation, true reconciliation, connect to true worship? Why is Jesus connecting these things together? And again, how does that connect to the kingdom of God in whole, as a whole aspect of what Jesus is saying to us here? So you begin to think through these realities of how this is all connected, what Jesus is trying to teach us. It should again be convicting. So when you hear this idea of be reconciled, what then is the remedy that he gives us? What is the remedy that we are called to continually seek in these moments? Again, we say it every month as we come to the Lord's table, but why is it so important that we live well with one another? And so again, you begin to think through this. He then has this idea of making friends with your accuser before the day of judgment. What does he mean by this? What is Jesus trying to instruct us about in life? So again, as we begin to unpack this first of a list of moral descriptions and discussions, as Jesus pushes us towards a true righteousness found in him and found in a true faith in him, hope you'll take some time, unpack this text, as we dive deep into Jesus' call in our lives to live out the faith well, to believe the gospel and live the gospel. Can't wait to worship with you guys on Sunday as we hear the word proclaimed and as we live it out throughout the week. See you guys soon.